So we do a bit of a tour. We have some baskets outside in the garden centre. The garden centre is looking great with all the plants, apart from the fact that we have no customers. This lovely plant we showed you a few weeks ago, Euphorbia, is now joined by a beautiful geranium, pink one. Some of the geraniums, the pelargonium geraniums, are coming outside. Anna is preparing the area for the dahlias, which have definitely come outside now because it's too hot in the glasshouse. What she's done is pinched out the centre where they're starting to flower, so they'll bush out and get more flowers. The alstroemeria have been flowering for the last few weeks. They're almost coming to an end. The oak trees are all looking really oaky and leafy. This lovely clematis among the hydrangea. A lot of plants outside, a lot of geraniums outside. The glasshouse is looking somewhat empty, but that's because we're getting ready now to start planting tomatoes and aubergines and cucumbers into the ground. Some more plants to go outside. Canna lilies are coming on. They need a lot of water and we're probably not giving them as much as they need. It's hard work. More geraniums. Anna's still pricking out seedlings. She's been doing a huge amount of them, a massive amount of seedlings. She's been pinching out the salvia patens this is, the lovely blue salvia. Tomatoes are screaming at us to let them into the ground. And these are the watermelons. They look okay, but I was saying to Sean, I think the other day on a video call, that maybe we should give them a little bit of tomato food or something with a nice bit of nitrogen to get them to speed up a bit. All the seedlings that Anne has pricked out. These are the aubergines. Didn't think we were going to have them this year, and I sowed them a few weeks ago, and Anna's picked them out. Cosmos, alyssum, more pansies. I hate guessing these things after the last time, but I think it's purple sprouting broccoli. And this is some lobelia. Petunias, chard, marigolds. Loads and loads and loads of tomatoes and some more courgettes. And I'm afraid to show you in here because we've really been under pressure to get these into the ground and we haven't done it yet. So the cucumbers, some of the runner beans have gone too far, and we've got some more broccoli there as well. This is on the list. Andrew planted spuds. The spuds are coming up, but just the weeds are trying to hide them. And then these spuds are not quite as far ahead. I suspect they were planted a little bit deeper. That doesn't matter, they're still coming up. Brian planted these ones, Duke of York. Probably a different variety to those other ones as well, and that could have a bearing on whether they come up quickly or not, but there they are. And I need to get to them weeding the same way as I did inside, so I'm not really that worried. I think I'll probably get them weeded before then. Rhubarb, I picked quite a bit of that and brought it home, and it's in flower. And pulled off some of the flower stalks already, but there's some more coming on. And this is where we've been busy for the last couple of hours, or yesterday a couple of hours and today a couple of hours. These are the cabbages. I've shown you these already in another part. We'll be talking about them a bit more. They are the sweet corn. Runner bean are the broad beans, and planted some courgettes. The carrots didn't get enough water, just too much to do. So they're coming into flower, so they're going to be quite pretty, even if we don't get much of a crop off them. I'm sure they're going to look really well. Lettuce, I've got something on that now for you in a few minutes, and just gone in as well, some strawberries. and you will see I've been talking about the grapevine as well, and the cabbages, and the weeded, 2 different stages of weeding I did with the potatoes. These ones were later, and you can see they're held back a little bit, but these ones are going crazy. Had to top up the pond with some of the recycled water. It was going quite low. Lots of daisies. Some more of these. The little garden we finished after Christmas, this is doing great. No plants have to come on a bit more. There are a few weeds in it, but very few considering how long it's been done. And I think the reason why is because we put a really good mulch of gravel over it, and the plants are happy. I've had to water this tree a couple of times, but look at it, it's absolutely beautiful. I'm not going to tell you the name because we'll probably be asking you that, but it looks great. Now there's going to be lots of talk again about this putting green, because I've been having great fun trying to keep it or get it into good condition. Just walk up along it. I've just finished putting some more fertiliser on it again. I'm doing fertilising on and off every week, and I've been cutting 4 times a week, and now I'm sprinkling and irrigating to water in some of the fertiliser because it's so dry. Yeah, this is quite interesting because a few weeks ago these were looking absolutely stunning, the wallflowers. I'd say it's about 9 weeks since we've had rain. They would be coming to the end of their time anyway, but I think it's probably been called to a halt prematurely, their time, because of the drought. So they've gone to seed very quickly to try and ensure their future. So they don't look great, and they're going to have to be pulled out at some stage and replaced with summer bedding. Might be a job for you guys when you get back rather than us. We haven't watered them because there's a lot to water, and it would be very wasteful to go around and water everything on site. I pulled out some massive weeds from this, huge ones, a few weeks ago. There's still some more weeding to do in it. There's just so much to do. These are the areas that I haven't been cutting, and they're starting to get quite a lot of nice wildflowers in them. Nice shapes to walk around, to follow around and enjoy. Wildflower meadows. wetting down the surface, a concrete surface or a MyPEX surface or tarmacadam or any sort of hard surface in a polythene tunnel or in glass houses is really good for plants. It also makes the working conditions a little bit easier on a hot day like this, so it's cooler for me. The water is evaporating, the water vapor is evaporating, and at the same time it's actually cooling the air in the polythene tunnel. But it also dampens the air, and that will increase transpiration in plants. And when transpiration is increased in plants, they grow more quickly and more healthily. So that means we're helping the plants on. We're making the growing conditions more favourable for the plants. Had a lot of trouble with aphids on the cabbages. In fact, quite an infestation on a lot of them. And I've pulled a lot of the cabbage out, and we kept some of the better ones. Up at the other end of the tunnel up here, the cabbages up there are not so badly affected. But the broccoli that we had here, the purple sprouting broccoli, was completely covered in aphids. And I think it probably spread across to these, being a brassica as well. So some of these plants will have to be thrown out. They'll have to be discarded, a few more of them. But what I've been doing is blasting a lot of the aphids off these and soaking them in water. That will kill a lot of them, but we'll probably still have to spray something like SB Invigorator, which is organic approved. It's a plant stimulant, and it also has a soapy substance in it, which is supposed to clog up the respiratory systems of the aphids and kill them that way, and protects the plant at the same time. There's another one here that has a lot of aphids in here. So what I've been doing with something like this is this. And that removes a lot of the aphids. You can see they're still there on some of the inner leaves, but if I can get a lot of them off, then there's less work for the spray, the SB Invigorator, to do if most of them are washed onto the ground. Some of them will probably climb back up, but a lot of them will actually be washed into the soil and won't come back. That's the hope anyway. We're going to plant some lettuce in this bed. We've put the irrigation back on, to the irrigation pipes back onto the bed. So the plan is, I suppose, in order to make sure that they're all well watered, to space out the irrigation pipe in such a way that it will have a lettuce plant either side of it, and the water will seep out to water each lettuce plant. So if that's the case, there's 2 pipes, there should be 4 rows of lettuce. First thing we needed to do is just prepare the bed. I think there was already lettuce in this bed, and it's lettuce going in again. So we're not strictly going by the principles of crop rotation, but I think it'll be okay. This particular bed was a little bit up and down and uneven, and that's a problem if you're trying to water plants, that the high spots don't get as much water and the low spots get too much water. So having a level bed, it makes sense. The other thing, this soil is quite well turned over, and I'm not digging it. I don't think I need to. In this particular case, probably using the principles of no dig. All that I needed to do was to level off the surface, not to turn it over or to fork the soil, but just level it off. So I'm going to start preparing the bed and then start to line out the irrigation so that there's space for 4 rows of lettuce plants. So I've used these clips to clip down the irrigation. This is a drip irrigation or a seep irrigation. It has tiny little holes and they seep water out. The hole is kind of blocked from behind so as the water won't squirt, that it'll just kind of weep or drip. And that's really good because it saves water, but it also allows water to, over a good long period of time, to just seep and kind of through capillary action make itself bigger and bigger in an area and seep across to maybe a plant that would be here or here. So that's the bed prepared and the irrigation installed. I'm going to turn on the irrigation now, and as I plant you'll see the drips coming out. Slow and steady is the most efficient and environmentally responsible way of irrigating, and it's dripping slowly so less of it evaporates because it sinks down into the ground. Water on the surface of a plant, particularly for lettuce which we're planting, is not a good idea. It causes fungal disease, but it also scorches the plant and a lot of it evaporates into the atmosphere. These lettuces have been waiting a long time to go in the ground, probably too long. You can see they're gone hungry and the outer leaves are gone yellow. They're a variety called Gwenda and they're a cos lettuce. I need to get them into the ground as quickly as possible, and I'm going to give them probably the width of a trowel as a spacing to allow plenty of air circulation around them, and just give them space to make good big heads. So this is one plant. It's been watered, but it's so warm at the moment it seems like it's kind of almost dried out again. I might have to give some of them water before I plant them so as not to shock them so much. But what I'm going to do is pull out the most outer leaves. The ones that are yellow are no use to the plant anymore, and they're just going to be unsightly and attract slugs and snails and possibly cause fungal disease should the weather get wet or cold. And that's the plant I'm planting. Actually, I probably could take off this one as well. So that's a few planted. I need to get some more trays. I'm going to finish off this bed in the same way. I've watered them once and I'll probably give them another water in about an hour because the water is probably not going to penetrate the soil very far when the soil is as dry as it is. So that's some work done. Over here, Anne planted the courgettes the week before last week, I think. But the plants have come on hugely in 2 weeks. They've doubled in size and they've got lots of flowers on them. So these will definitely fill up the bed with some beautiful courgettes for us to eat. I had the irrigation off for a couple of days because we really soaked the ground, but it's back on, and I might readjust it, the irrigation a little bit, so it's nearer to each plant. The next thing I'm probably going to plant is sweet corn, and I'm planning on planting it here in this gap beside the broad beans, between the cabbage and the broad beans. The reason I'm doing it here, Anne and I discussed where to plant them, and we felt that the nearer to the door the better. Yes, they like warm weather, but they also like some wind or some air circulation for pollination, because they are essentially a grass plant. They're in the same order of plants as grass is, so they're pollinated by wind rather than by insects. And if there is air rushing through this polythene tunnel when we have the doors open, the most vigorous movement of air will be near to the doors. So here's the lovely sweet corn planted. I put the irrigation around to try and be near to every single one of the plants. The ones at the back are the ones that are the biggest. They were in individual pots, and then the 3 at the front, and then just one on the side here. Just one on the side here. That one there, and the 3 at the front, they were from a small 6-pack, so they're not quite as big as the others. But I think they'll all do well, so long as they get plenty of this kind of hot weather and plenty of water at the start. These are a perpetual strawberry. Perpetual means that they will produce fruit over a longer period. Continuously, I suppose, would be similar to perpetual, but they're not like ordinary strawberries, because ordinary strawberries are kind of divided into early season and mid-season and then later strawberries, and that's how a lot of commercial growers will produce a long season of strawberries to sell. But these ones here will probably produce a little bit less, but over a long season, and that's good for somebody who's not trying to sell them commercially, because it means you have some strawberries all the time over a longer period, rather than getting a glut and not really knowing what to do with them other than freeze them or make them into jam. And that's a pity sometimes with such a beautiful fresh fruit. So I'm going to plant these on ridges, as you can see. These ridges are the way they would be planted in a field situation, up on a height, so the fruit hangs down the sides, so they're up out of the wet, because the strawberry plants and the strawberry flowers hate to be in the wet. It makes them easier to pick, to walk down in between as well, because these are perpetual. This bed is going to be here for most of the summer. We won't be pulling these out for any time soon, so I put a lot of time into preparing these high ridges for them. So I'm going to start planting them now. And I'm making sure that I repair any damage that I make to the ridge. So I'm digging these down. And these need a really good soaking water when they're finished. All the time I'm making sure that I'm keeping the integrity of the ridge. Because the preparation of the soil is done, it makes the job of planting easier, so I don't have to prepare each one as I plant it. This makes things a lot faster. So, as I say, all of the preparation is done, the soil is lovely and soft, and it makes the planting job a lot quicker. I like to tidy up the pots as I go along rather than fall over them at the end. These are second year plants. They are in their second year, they're 2-year-old, so we should get a lot more than we got on them last year. As I plant these, I'm holding the trowel like a dagger. That way it's quite easy to do a very natural movement like this. If I was to hold it that way, I'm moving my shoulder in unnatural ways, and that's actually quite hard if you're doing a lot of planting. But with this way, it's so much easier to do something very natural. So that's the last one. I'm sure some of you enjoyed seeing me actually doing the work rather than giving the orders to you. Looking forward to having strawberries. I'd say the first ones now, just judging by this one, will be in about 3 weeks. Hopefully be back by then. Yeah. These are the potatoes, Sharps Express, that you saw me not looking forward to weeding a few weeks ago, and then a couple of weeks later I bit the bullet and I did some weeding on them. But you can see now that they're actually coming into flower, and that's an indication that they're coming towards being ready. Certainly with the early crops, the first earlies or second earlies, if they're in flower, it means that they're nearly at the point where they're going to be ready. Another good indication would be that they're starting to get yellow around the base, and they're kind of finished their job, so they're starting to die back. But if you did feel like you were in a hurry to get the first potatoes, the fact that they're flowering or just finishing to flower, maybe just starting to finish, it would be a good indication that you're going to get a reasonably decent crop of early salad potatoes, and they would be about egg sized is what you'd be hoping for. So looking forward to maybe in the next video digging up some potatoes and showing you them, and then looking forward to you guys being able to eat them when you come back. This is the grapevine. It's starting to show some signs of powdery mildew, and I've been spraying it with water just to try and keep it at bay. I may have to do some spraying at some stage with an organic fungicide, maybe some bicarbonate of soda. I might try spraying something like SB Invigorator just for the nutrient boost that it might give it. But the surprise with this one is what we were hoping for. That it's actually got some baby fruits. Quite a few actually, if you look around it. I pruned every stem back to either where it was flowering and fruiting, or back to 1 or 2 buds. And this stimulates fruiting of the plant, but it also stops it from becoming very vegetative and impossible to get at the fruits. So we're really happy about that. I think it probably looks a little bit on the hungry side. I've been watering quite a bit, and we're trying to keep the powdery mildew at bay, which it's always gotten when it was in the other glasshouse. But we were hoping here, because it's looked after a little bit better and it's pruned, that we can keep the mildew at bay and get some decent crops in the future. The raised benches in the garden centre, they were originally built about 6-7 years ago by some students who were here at the time. 3 of them, as you can see. But when we built them, we did create 3 different surfaces, 3 different walls. But we also built them to be self-watering flood benches. So you can see the plants are sitting in water. But I never really got around to connecting them up until now, when we were under pressure to keep everything watered. So I have connected up the water supply. So all you do is turn on the gate valve for 10 minutes and it floods the bench. And down here is a filter which allows the water to drain off slowly. But the beauty of this is we're not wasting water, because any excess water goes down into this pipe, goes all the way along here and all the way back over to the well. So it's a very efficient and very ecological way of watering, using recycled water, flooding the benches with water to water the plants, and that water will stay for about 10 or 15 or 20 minutes and the plants will be well watered.